Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and my podcast I called the Nintendidn't, so we did podcast. And in today's episode, which is episode 12, we are diving into none other than Animal Crossing Small Town Big City once again. And this episode is a continuation of the last episode that we did as an introduction to what I call the big city. And so hopefully if you have not seen that past video, check that out before we dive into this video, because it's going to show you some really cool concepts about what a big city could look like, including the map and the storyline involved in that. So check that out first before you get started. Animal Crossing in the past were no stranger to having a starter tent from the game's New Leaf and New Horizons on. However, for me personally, I really miss the opportunity to have that tent around longer. I mean, aesthetically, especially if you have like a foresty island on New Horizons, or if you wanted to keep that around on New Leaf, you couldn't really keep it around too long unless you kept your character back in development in the game. And so I really would like there to be the option to expand your tent and also have the typical, I'm going into debt with Tom Nook, I'm upgrading my house, I'm getting it to the highest level. You in this situation can have the best of both worlds. So we're going to be talking about that today. Before we dive in heavily and primarily to the city portion, I want to show you a drawing that I made today actually about the octagonal tent that you will unlock in the small town portion of the game. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen right now for you so you can see. All right, so what you are seeing now is my concept art for the Octagonal Tent, which is the player home in the small town portion of the game. So once you get your tent one time, it's not like it goes away right away. You can keep the tent around for a long time. And primarily how you get these tent upgrades is not by bells. Shocker, you don't go into debt when you first start the game. So the way that you receive upgrades for this, like the things shown on the screen, like the wings, which are expandable portions, you can actually expand the space of the interior of your octagonal tent, or you can have accessories for the interior and exterior, including toppers and strands, which are all shown on the screen now. These are unlocked primarily through helping your villagers, similar to like when you have dialogue in New Leaf, how they give you more public works projects to do. So this will be how you expand your home, by helping and contributing positively to the community over time. Now, there's also a concept, if you look at the bottom left of this little concept art that I made, and that is canvases. Now, this will be replacing wallpaper in your small town. We have not fully done away with wallpaper, but canvases are cool because they can be used both in the interior and exterior of your octagonal tent. So if you want to change the exterior color or pattern of your octagonal tent, then you can change that anytime outside using canvases. Now, you can unlock a couple default canvases by helping your neighbors, but primarily the way that you'll be unlocking canvases is by going to the Able Sisters, and they create special canvases that you can buy. Some that you can get for default is like the camping tent canvas, where you can make it look like more, not so much like a cloth canvas, but a camping tent. You can also, from the Able Sisters, get the default fruit tent canvas, which is a special design that they make. And I'm sure that you can also make your own custom design canvas as well and put it on there, but I'll leave that to your own imagination. Finally, the circus tent canvas is one that you can unlock for helping one of your villagers fulfill their dreams. So I just want to reiterate this. We have not gotten rid of wallpaper. That will have a purpose. But for the tent, the canvases are the primary wallpaper interior and exterior option that can be bought or unlocked for this game. I want to also draw your attention to kind of the middle of the drawing, and you'll see kind of some options of some different tent shapes for the cloth. And so right now what you're seeing is that the main picture there is the pointy version, but you can also switch to more of a domed tent or some other really cool designs. So there will be options to change the exterior designs of your octagonal tent as you unlock them. Then finally, wings. Now, wings are expansions similar to how you can expand your home to have different wings to your house. First, you'll have to expand your actual tent to a larger size, which will increase the size and space that you can have. But then you have the option of increasing the wings, which are little 5x4 rooms that you can seamlessly walk into. There are no more loading screens when it comes to walking in separate rooms. We've gotten away from the loading screens when it comes to your home. So, pretty cool there. Wing number 1 is the left side, wing number 2 is the right side, and wing number 3, which is the final expansion, will be the back side of your tent. So this will be the primary player home that you will have in your small town. Now, there are a couple other things that I just want to point out, the little decorations. We've introduced toppers and strands. Now, toppers are the things that appear at the very top. Wow, that's so obvious, right? Of your tent. And these are things like little stars, flags, seasonal ones like snowmen, or even like the leaf that I showed here. Or strands, which are stringed items that can be strung along the exterior of your tent or the interior, such as little fall leaf strings or holiday lights like Christmas lights or Edison lights. So you can customize this at your will. You don't have to wait till later on in the game in order to have a customizable tent. You can be unlocking these things from right off the bat when you start the game, and there are very many options to customize it the way that you want to, more than just changing the color of your roof and eventually getting some other building upgrades. We saw some more options in New Leaf where Tom Nook actually ran that building for customizations, but in this game you have those options. All right, speaking of Tom Nook, let's shift our focus now to the big city portion. And this is where you will have your typical Animal Crossing I'm going into debt experience. So we talked primarily about this in the last video, and we queued up the little storyline as to when you move to the big city, Tom Nook wants to give you a studio apartment, but that comes with a home, like an apartment loan. You don't have to pay for your monthly rent. It's included, but you do have to pay off that loan. And when you get to it, it is not just this dingy little thing. It's a little bit more than that. It's a small studio apartment that's filled with cockroaches, and you catch Digby off guard, and he's like, come back. And then once you come back, once you've gotten some wallpaper and some flooring for your apartment with the money that he gives you, you come back and see your studio apartment all set for the first time, and it's not much to look at. Similar to how your home is in the typical Animal Crossing game. So that is going to be one of your primary goals in the big city, to upgrade your apartment so that you can fit more furniture that you buy in the city, and that you can eventually upgrade that to the highest level, which is a penthouse apartment on the roof. So that is the highest upgrade that you can expand the width of the room as well. So this in the end will be a very long apartment that you will be able to unlock and have different rooms that you can divvy out through room dividers, kind of like we saw added in the Happy Home Paradise DLC on New Horizons. And there will be a lot of options if you are the type of person who loves having a house and that the tent doesn't really jive with you. It'll just be another motivator for you to want to go to the big city and get your own studio apartment that you can eventually upgrade to a penthouse apartment. So I think that's super fun. So as we talk about this apartment, I want you to refer to the mega document, which will be available in the description of this video or podcast that you're watching right now. So check out that mega document that I've created. This has so much information about this fully conceptualized Animal Crossing game that I call Small Town Big City. And you can follow along with me if you go to the big city portion. It's part 2 of our mega document, and go down to apartment complex names and locations on map. So let me just throw up the map on the screen right now for you. And what you're seeing right now is the big city map. And on this map, there are 5 apartments that you can go to. And the first one is the Fairview. Each apartment is placed strategically somewhere in the city so that you can experience the game close by to the places that matter to you the most. So the Fairview is going to be very close to the fairgrounds, and also it's close to Nook Square and the entertainment district. So if entertainment and shopping is very important to you, then this is where you're going to want to set up shop. One caveat though, once you pick your apartment location, you cannot switch apartments. So you got to choose wisely. So if you value these things, then you're going to want to set up shop here for your apartment space. And every time you log on the server, your apartment will always be in the same spot. You never have to worry about your apartment jumping around just because there's not enough room for you in that specific apartment. There will always be space for you, and it will always be where your apartment is located. Second location, if you value being close to the shops and to the rural district here there in the city, or if you just like the idea of going on a hot air balloon ride or seeing them from your window, then this Skyview apartment is one of the larger apartment buildings on the server. And this one will have iconic views of the hot air balloon attraction that's available on the big city. That one has a lot of great views. The third one is Midtown. This one is your all-around apartment that you can go to access anywhere on the big city map. So this one is your central location if you value being close to pretty much everything. This one's close to your shops, it's close to other villager apartments, and it's close to the entrance to the other districts. So that's going to be really important if you value all around accessibility. Now, Uptown. Uptown is where, if you are an artist or you're a creative, this is where you're going to want to be. Uptown is the location of the music shop. It's the location to the amphitheater and the park if you're into more relaxing in the scenic area, and it's also very close to the museum and other creative shops. So if you're into creativity or you're an artist at heart or a collector, you're going to want to go to the Uptown apartment. That is where I definitely would choose if I was in the game. And then finally, the last one is the rural apartments. And if you're into the rural area, which is the lower right portion of the city, this is kind of like if there were ever to be like a town portion of the city where there's a lot of individual apartments, then this would be your town with streets, and this is where the coffee shop is located. So if Brewster is your bae and you want to visit Brewster a lot, these are directly across from Brewster's Roost, which is the coffee house that he has created on the server. And so if that's what's important to you, there are 5 individual apartment complex, each with, I believe that would be 20 potential spaces for you. That is available to you if you do so choose those more individualized apartments that make you feel a little bit more like a closer knit community, or if you're a big coffee lover, that's where you're going to want to pick. So 5 locations that are all spread out equally on the map for you. But then there's also a couple more apartment spaces on the map. Now, these are not accessible to you as the player necessarily. These are not ones that you can move into. However, these are ones that villagers will move into. So because they're player apartments, those are only ones that players on the server can move into. But then villagers who roam around the city, who move from your small town to the big city, this is where they will stay, and they have their own apartments too. So every time that you come onto the server, there will not be a villager that you can access that is living in your small town. And I think you could probably guess why that would be. Because if your villager was living in the big city and your small town, it kind of gets into this, it ruins the effect, right? Of, hey, my villager is still in my town, but now I see him walking around. What's going on here? And so the way that it will work, there will be a mechanic in the game that it will never include a villager to have an apartment if they currently live in your town. It's very similar to how they're doing the hotel right now. Any visitor that visits the hotel will automatically not be somebody that's in your small town, or else there would be two of them. There'd be two blueberries, there'd be two savannas walking around your town, and that doesn't make any sense at all. It's very similar to how that works in the big city. All right, so now that we've clarified that, what can you do with the villager apartments? So villager apartments are apartments that you can work together with the Happy Home Realty, which we teased Digby's role kind of a little bit, but there's actually still something called the Happy Room Academy, which we are very familiar. They are a voting system that rates your house based off of where your furniture is placed, if you have things of a matching set. And primarily the role of the Happy Room Academy is a school in this game that teaches you how to give villagers their dream apartments that they want. So this functions very similar to if you're really into the Happy Home Paradise DLC or the hotel add-on that they added recently in Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is going to be for you. Where you like to design rooms, the way that you play Animal Crossing is a design game. This is for you. So you can make villager apartments just the way that you like them and display them for you to revisit in the future. And other people can display their villager apartment ideas too, similar to how you can in Happy Home Paradise as well, where you can search different ones and see inspiration and stuff like that. So I think that is so cool, and a way that we can incorporate that Happy Home kind of paradise-esque kind of vibe, if that's what you're really into this game, without having it interfere to your small town experience that takes away from it feeling like typical Animal Crossing. And Animal Crossing is a lot of things, but I don't believe that it is primarily a design sim. I believe it is a life sim game more than anything. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about your apartment and what that would look like. So as I said earlier, every time that you log onto a big city server, your apartment will be located in the same place. So make sure you choose this real estate very wisely, as it determines where you will start your game every time. Each apartment building can fit up to 100 players. And as we talked about in the last video, that the server limit is 100 players, but that is a lot of players that can be playing simultaneously at one time anyway. So initially I was thinking 500, but man, that's a lot. So we've lessened it down to 100 players. So each apartment can have up to 100 players. So you will never be kicked out if there are a certain limit of people. So there will be up to 100 human players that can be playing at one time, and they all can have their apartment at the rural apartments, or they can all have their apartment at Uptown. It would never interfere or kick you onto another apartment space. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, when you enter an apartment building, it will display a screen with a scroll bar that will display small icons with a player's face. We've seen this as you're scrolling through options of visiting different homes made for the Happy Home Paradise DLC. So it'll basically show a picture of the apartment, then it'll show the player's face and their name, and then you have the option of clicking on that and visiting any player apartment that's currently on the server. So once you walk into their apartment, even if they leave the server, it will remain loaded until you leave that room. And then if they're gone off the server, then you will not have access to that apartment one more time. So you can get some inspiration when you go to different people's apartments. And this will be a way to kind of play along with other people in the same town, if you will. But you can have a wide and ever-changing variety of people that are playing on the server. Then you can go back to their place and have a party. You can go back and have some small talk with your friends in a more private space. Or you can just go and find inspiration for your apartment by visiting other people's apartments. Now, what about your apartment? So there will be an option at the top to just click your apartment every time that you walk into the apartment building. So you can enter straight into your room or pick an option of other apartments to go to. And then once you pick your apartment, you will go straight into your room. There's no loading screen involved whatsoever. You go right away. There's no load. So how can you allow other people to not see your apartment because maybe you're working on a project and you don't want other people on the server to see the apartment. That is where we have come up with the locking and unlocking system.
Nook cares a lot about safety in this day and age, so in order to even make your apartment visible to others, you must choose to unlock it. When you unlock your room, this makes it public to anyone online. You are free to unlock and relock your apartment anytime, even live in an online session. Locking it will limit access to all people, including your friend. However, setting up a number code will allow Switch 2 friends to enter while keeping random strangers out of your private space. Finally, your pad will automatically be locked anytime you're in a renovation session. That way, nobody can see your place prematurely before it's perfect.
So you have the ability to lock your apartment so that when the available list of people that are on the server show up, your apartment will not show up for them. They cannot come in. So this gives you an option for more privacy, especially if there's a younger child that's wanting to play the game and their parent does not want them to have other people to have access to their apartment. They can lock the apartment and you never have to worry about anybody coming in. But if you are open to other people coming in, then you can keep your apartment unlocked. Now here's a cool feature. Every time you are editing, you never have to worry about somebody coming into your apartment. So you'll go into like an editing mode, and if you're freely walking around or you're in the edit mode there in the apartment, there's no way that anybody will walk in and will interrupt your editing process. So you'll never have to get locked in your apartment. Your visitor or the animal visitor that might be coming in, you never have to worry about them kind of intercepting or interrupting your design session. It will always be locked when you are editing. So that's pretty cool. What if you want a friend to come over, but you don't want the general public to come over? Well, there's also a way that you can allow friends only people that are on your friends list to visit your pad anytime, unless you have it locked, of course. So there's an option to do a friends only lock, and the way that you do that is through a passcode. Now that could be a number, or I don't know, maybe a letter passcode, a certain thing that your friend would have to type in order to have access to the room. But once they have that, they can get in anytime. So it's like in real life, if you have a number key and you generate some sort of number, and that's the number that you give to your friend if they want to come over. So it would be locked to everybody except anybody who has that number on your friends list. And so that'd be pretty cool, a way that you can allow it to lock to the general public, and just another safety feature that we're putting within the game to keep your private things essentially private. Now there's another thing that I want to talk about. This is unrelated to apartments, but I think it's important to note because I think a lot of parents would have a lot of concerns, and even just people in general. Maybe you don't want swearing or cussing or things like that, or just you don't want to be talking to anybody when you're at the big city. So there are chat features that have certain parameters that you can choose when you start up the big city and things like that. There are settings that you can do to ensure that nobody is talking to you that you don't want talking to you. So here are some of the details about the chat modes. And there are 5 different chat modes to choose from. The first one is a default chat mode. This works very similar to how pretty much chats are right now in Animal Crossing games like New Horizons. A filtered and protected chat mode where certain words and numbers are bleeped out, but pretty much anything goes. Parental, this is the second one. A set chat wheel of options to choose from. You can see chat boxes from other parental mode players, but it's restricted to any other type of chat, including the one that we just mentioned. So this works very similar to a chat where you have presets, like say Mario Kart. A lot of the games recently have a list of dialogue that you can choose from, but this will be a lot more expansive than that. A lot of classic MMOs, like back in the day that were for children, would have chat wheels that would give you pre-existing responses to certain things, and then it would also allow you to choose like a location, and then you could be like, I want to go to, and then it would have a list of locations in the city as well that you can go to prompt somebody to, hey, follow me to this place, let's go have a party here. So that would be the parental options. You can only chat with other people who have the parental ability, but anybody with any other chat modes you cannot talk to. Okay, this is another one. Friends only. So this is a whisper option. We had this back in New Leaf, and we probably have it in New Horizons as well, but I'm just not as familiar with connecting with friends on there. But this would be a whisper option that is an unfiltered chat mode, with the exception of major things that you would want to bleep out, like slurs and cuss words and things like that. And this is suited for those who are well acquainted. So these chats will not be viewed by anybody that's not your friend. You can choose whether you want it to go to any friends that are online on the server with you, or you can whisper to a specific thing. So this is friends only chat mode. So this can be kept within friends so that you're not talking to everybody else on the server, and you can make specific plans with the friends on your friends list. All right, let's dive a little deeper into the voice chat mode. So this can be two different things. Voice only can be with friends. So if you're friends with the person, you can connect via voice chat. You can connect anywhere and anytime while connected in town or in the big city. Start a chat on your Nook Phone Plus and have up to 8 total voices at once. So this will not be proximity chat necessarily, but this will be available to anybody that you add to your friends list. But what about your video? I've made video exclusive to best friends only. So you might add a bunch of people who you want to play with and something else, but then they pop on and they show you their video, and you don't want to be seeing that. You only want people who you trust to be showing their video. So that will be the best friends only mode, where you can do voice and video. So the same as voice, however, video is allowed to be connected as well. If players aren't best friends, you can choose to opt in or out to video at any point. Video will never show up for those who aren't best friends. So we have 5 different chat modes. You have your default, you have your parental, and you have your friends only, which can be included in a whisper as well. So there's 3 main just text modes, and then there's 2 voice modes. One is just voice with your friends, and video can be added if they are your best friends. So there's 5 different ways of protection when it comes to chatting in the big city, or just in the game in general, if you want your friend to come over to your small town. So we want to make sure that we're protecting those who are young, and we want to reassure parents that their young kids can play this mode and be safe and protected online. All right, well, in the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about protection on the server and how you can actually join a protection league. We call it the security league. And I'm not saying that there is an opposite league where they're trying to do things that are bad and unprotective, but there is going to be a rival gang of this security league that I want to go a little bit more into, that you could join to start a little bit of mischief on the server as well. So there's going to be a lot of fun things to do in the city, but I want to end with this. Camera modes. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can see this game. We talked in the past that a 360-degree camera will be accessible, so they're going to have to not just make the fronts of the buildings look good, but all around the buildings as well. So Nintendo's going to need a little bit of time to make these models look really, really good. But in the big city, there are some additional camera views that can help you to view the city in the grandeur of what it is. So a lot of these buildings are very, very tall. So choosing your camera angle, or even a fixed camera angle, will be important to viewing the whole scope of what the big city has to offer. There's a couple fixed angles in the city. There's the street view, which is an isometric 45-degree turned angle view that is looking from slightly above. This helps you to, see quite a bit of your character, but not a whole lot of the buildings. But if you really want to get a zoomed out view, then you're going to want to look at the sky view. That's going to be the second fixed angle. That is a zoomed out top view camera, which helps give you a scale of the massive buildings enveloping the city. The last one is side view. This one is very similar to the view of how you play Animal Crossing right now. Side view is as if you were watching from the other side of the road. This is a classic front-facing view. And then the final feature that's going to be brought over from the small town is free view, which is a 360-degree fixed camera view that you can use on your joypad. You can kind of scroll with this and not just move around with this. You can control your camera view with the alternate joystick on your controller or on your Joy-Cons on the Switch 2. So there's a lot of options of camera views in this game. It's going to be fully modeled. At least that's the idea that I'm presenting, is a fully modeled 360-degree game where you can enter buildings on 45-degree angles, and it doesn't really matter exactly, you know, where you are on the map. You can have fixed camera views, or you can simply just let your imagination run wild and view it from whatever view that you want to. So, did you like the video today? I hope that you did. And I hope that you join us for the next Nintendidn't So We Did podcast here on the channel or on your favorite streaming site. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you have never tuned in on there and it's more convenient just to listen along, well, you can tune in on one of those streaming platforms today. Guys, my name is SoopaKoopa. Thank you for letting me indulge a little bit more on the player home options in Animal Crossing Small Town Big City with the player tent and also the player apartment that you can unlock if you go to the optional big city portion of the game. We'll see you guys in the next iteration of the podcast, where we're going to be talking about the Security League and the Rossetti Gang. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.